The late autumn wind swept through the small town of Miller's Creek, rustling the brittle leaves that carpeted the streets. At the edge of town, nestled between two abandoned grain silos, sat Marley's auto diesel. The sign above the garage was faded, the red paint chipped from years of sun and storms. But inside, under the hum of fluorescent lights, worked one of the best mechanics for miles, Lena Brooks. Lena was 34, with oil-streaked hands, a ponytail that rarely stayed in place and eyes that missed nothing. She'd inherited the shop from her father, who'd taught her that engines talk if you listen close enough. Since his passing, she'd run the place on grit, skill, and a quiet pride. Most of her customers were locals, farmers, truckers, and delivery men, but every so often, someone new wandered in, desperate and out of options. That's how Caleb Walker entered her life one gray Thursday morning. Chapter 1. The Stranger with the Broken Truck. Caleb's old Ford F-250 coughed, sputtered, and finally died right in front of Lena's shop. The man who stepped out looked like he'd wrestled life and lost a few rounds. Mid-40s, unshaven, wearing a jacket with a construction company's faded logo. His boots were caked in mud, and his shoulders slumped like he carried more than just the weight of the toolbox in the back of his truck. Lena watched him through the glass office window as he popped the hood and stared, clearly out of his depth. She wiped her hands on a rag and walked out, her breath visible in the crisp air. "Need a hand?" she asked. He turned, hesitant. "Ma'am, I'm fine. Just, truck died. Probably the alternator again." Lena peeked under the hood, instantly spotting the problem. "No, not the alternator. Your serpentine belt snapped clean through." Caleb exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Figures. I'm supposed to be at a job site 2 towns over. Don't suppose you can fit me in." "Lucky for you," she said with a half smile. "I don't turn away lost causes. Roll it inside." He hesitated. "How much do you charge?" "We'll talk after," Lena replied, already motioning him to steer the truck toward the bay. Chapter 2. Fixing more than engines. Inside, Lena worked quickly. Caleb stood nearby, watching her hands move with precision, loosening bolts, replacing the belt, checking tension. The smell of grease and metal filled the air, familiar and grounding. "You've done this before," he said, half joking. "Once or twice," she smirked. "You a mechanic?" "No. Construction. Used to have a crew, but things slowed down." His eyes fell to the floor. "Lost the company truck, the contracts, everything." Lena didn't press. People came through her doors with more than just mechanical problems. Some needed a fix that couldn't be found in any toolbox. Within 40 minutes, the truck roared back to life. Caleb's face broke into the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. "You're a lifesaver. How much do I owe you?" Lena shook her head. "No charge." His brow furrowed. "Come on now. You can't just—" "You looked like you needed a break more than a bill," she said softly. "Consider it community service." He opened his mouth to protest again, but something in her tone stopped him. "I don't even know your name." "Lena Brooks," she said, extending a hand. "Owner, mechanic, therapist on Tuesdays." He laughed. "Caleb Walker. I'll pay you back, Lena, I promise." "You don't owe me anything, Caleb. Just take care of yourself." As he drove away, Lena returned to her workbench, but something about his grateful smile lingered in her mind long after the sound of his engine faded down the road. Chapter 3. The weeks that followed life at Marley's Auto carried on. Lena replaced transmissions, rotated tires, and fought with suppliers who always seemed to forget small-town mechanics when parts were scarce. Money was tight. She barely made rent that month, but she didn't regret helping Caleb. Some debts. Inside, however, not much was different. The smell of oil and coffee still lingered in the air. The radio still played old country songs that Lena hummed to without realizing, and the candy-red 1957 Chevy Apache, Caleb's gift that started it all, still sat in the corner bay, shining like a badge of honor. Life had been good to them. Business was steady, the community thrived, and the couple's teenage daughter, Maya, was learning the trade faster than anyone expected. She had her mother's focus and her father's charm, a combination that meant she could rebuild a carburetor and convince a supplier to shave 10% off a bill in the same afternoon. But as Lena often reminded her, engines are easy, people are the real puzzle. That truth was about to prove itself all over again. Chapter 1. The Man with the Empty Eyes. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when a rusted-out Chevy Silverado coasted into the lot, coughing like a smoker on his last breath. Behind the wheel was a young man, maybe 25, wearing a flannel shirt 2 sizes too big and a look of exhaustion that no amount of sleep could fix. Caleb, tightening a lug nut on a customer's SUV, looked up. "Morning, buddy. Truck giving you trouble?" The man stepped out, clutching a small duffel bag. "Yeah, won't shift right. Keeps grinding in second. Been on the road all night." "Where you headed?" Caleb asked. He hesitated. "Nowhere, really." That answer made Lena, who had emerged from the office with a clipboard, glance up sharply. There was something in his tone, a hollow ring she recognized all too well. The sound of someone barely hanging on. "Name's Evan, by the way," he said. "You think you could take a look?" "Of course," Lena replied. "Pull it up to Bay 2. As Evan stepped aside, Caleb whispered, "He looks rough. Think he's running from something?" Lena shot him a quiet look. "Or maybe towards something. Either way, we fix what's broken." Chapter 2. Under the Hood. Maya joined her mother under the Silverado's hood, examining the transmission housing. "It's bad," she said after a moment. "He's been driving on a cracked clutch plate." Lena nodded. "Good eye. Get the new kit from shelf 3. Evan lingered nearby, watching them work. "You really run this whole shop as a family?" "Yup," Caleb said proudly. "Started with one bay and a promise. Now we've got customers all over the county." "Must be nice," Evan muttered. "Having a place, people." "You don't have anyone waiting for you?" Lena asked gently. He shook his head. "Not anymore. My mom passed last year. I quit my job upstate after. Just been drifting since then." Maya, wiping her hands, looked at him curiously. "So you're like a mechanic too?" "No," Evan said, a faint smile tugging at his mouth. "Carpenter, or I used to be. Haven't built much lately." Caleb studied him carefully. He'd seen that look before, the same one he'd had all those years ago when Lena had fixed his truck for free. A look of being lost in a world that kept moving without you. Chapter 3. A Familiar Kindness. When the job was done, Lena walked to the counter, writing up the invoice. She paused, then quietly tore it in half. "No charge," she said. Evan blinked. "Wait, what?" "That was a full clutch replacement." "Consider it our good deed for the day," she replied, echoing her own words from a decade earlier. "I can't let you do that." "You can," Caleb said, leaning on the counter with a grin. "Trust us, it comes back around." Evan stood there, stunned. "Why would you help a stranger like me?" Lena looked up, her eyes soft but steady. "Because someone once helped us, and it changed everything." Chapter 4. The Offer. Evan didn't leave right away. He hung around the shop, helping Caleb move tires, fetching tools and sweeping up without being asked. He worked quietly, but there was a precision to his movements, a kind of care that caught Lena's attention. "You said you used to be a carpenter," she asked.